Welcome to another Friday Night Restoration. This time we have a little unassuming Airline radio. I know nothing about it. I got it a while ago from a friend along with a couple other radios, and I've really never taken a closer look at it. See, there's an Airline logo across the top, but no label. Probably was one here at some point, but it's long gone. Nothing on the back. But we do have the original metal back, and that's about it. The one really bad thing here is there is a crack in the Bakelite cabinet right across the top. Not really visible, but yeah, it is there, and that immediately kills the value to collectors. But hey, still worth restoring, I think. So first thing, let's pop this back off. I can see some tubes peeking back there, like there's a 12 SA7, so I'm guessing this is an all-American 5 using octal tubes. So what, late 40s, early 50s maybe, something like that. This uses these oddball connectors. I think they just pull off, or maybe they twist. Let's see. You can see it's all scored up around these. Well, they look like you want to put a tool in there and twist them around, but I don't think that does it. I think you actually pull these off. Yep. Pop off, look like that. One down. I'll get the others. One left. Ow. And there it is. Alright. Well, it's really corroded around there. But there's some dissimilar metal action going on here between maybe copper and steel or something like that. So it's gone blue. And this is more than just a pop-on connector. This actually has some spade terminals on it. I wonder... I wonder if that was some way to use the back cover as a crude antenna. Also odd, because it does say antenna here, but this is insulated from the cabinet, but there's nothing connected to it. So if you were to hook up an antenna here, I don't see how it would do you any good whatsoever, unless this actually was connected to the cabinet, or rather the back lid, but I don't think it is. Let's do a little continuity test and see if that is the case. Yeah, the antenna jack is isolated from this back cover, so maybe at some point there was a wire going from this to something. It's weird though, because I don't see any indication that there was ever anything connected to that little lug. Yeah. Set that little mystery on the side. Maybe I can find a model number in here somewhere, find service info, and figure out what's going on. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that looks like a cap. So yeah, all American 5 series filament transformerless set. Power cord's been cut off there. So let's see, pull these tubes out so we can get a better look at the rest of it. Let's see, we got 12 SA7, 12 SJ7. So it's like a rectifier. Yep, 35 Z5. And try another 12S something. Yep, 12 SQ7. And this will be a 25, 35, or 50 L6, I guess. 50 L6. So if you add up 12, 12, 12, 25, and 50, you get somewhere in the neighborhood of 115, 120 volts, something like that. Which is why you can run all those filaments in series without a power transformer. They just go right to the AC line cord. Look at that dust build up in there. Nice. But no corrosion. Except around that one terminal there. Alright, there is a filter cap. No doubt it's gone leaky, if not completely bad. And a speaker. From what I can see, the cone looks to be in good shape. And it's got a little audio output transformer. And that's probably antenna RF coil of some sort. And that's an IF transformer or vice versa. So I could take out these two Phillips screws and the chassis should pull out. Oh, got to take the knobs off too. That one's going to be stubborn. And that one too. Turns out there's a good reason those knobs were on there so tight. That's because they have set screws. So I think if I loosen these up, how about that? Which is odd because these are knurled knobs, or at least that one is. So yeah, I wonder if these are the original knobs. These are not knurled knobs. And why would you put unknurled knobs onto knurled shafts? Now, once I find out the model number, maybe I can find a photo online and see if those are the original knobs or not. Alright, with those off, now we can take this back off. Let's see. Go, Phillips screwdriver. So fairly new looking screws. And there's no way these are the original, so I wonder if somebody's done some work on this. So we'll find out if there are new capacitors down there. Okay, well, let's tell right away the speaker's been repaired. Did a decent job though. Looks like they probably used like Elmer's glue or something like that. Didn't slop a whole bunch of rubber cement or caulking or silicone adhesive or anything like that. Dial cord's alright. And it has not been recapped. So somebody clearly repaired the speaker and probably put those new screws in there, but I don't see any evidence of recapping. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 sealed tight, no, five sealed tight branded caps, and one that's a different brand. So maybe that odd man out was replaced, but not the others. Kind of goofy looking resistors too. They're sort of like dog bones, but they're not quite like the old style dog bones. Here's an example of what I mean. This is a dog bone from the early 30s. This radio is definitely a lot later than that. Alright, so can we find a model number anywhere? I don't know, a number here in the chassis, 462053, but that's probably a serial number. 3T-3, maybe. Let's see. Looks like AP0 on the chassis. I don't know what that means. Alright, well, what I'm going to do is hop online and look around for photos of Airline radios from late 40s, early 50s, and see if I can find one that matches this cabinet style and look for a schematic. I went online and did a web image search for Airline Bakelite radio, got a whole bunch of hits, and some of the first I saw actually looked quite a bit like this guy, although they were painted in horrible garish colors. In fact, there's one guy in particular who seems to specialize in taking vintage All-American 5 Bakelite radios and painting them in really garish, horrible colors. I'm not a big fan of that, but to each his own. At any rate, thanks to his site and some others, I believe I have identified the model number as a 14BR-1501B. There we go. So I went to Nostalgia Air and printed out the service info. And as you can see from this, well, it sure does look like my cabinet. The knobs differ, and in the photos I found online, there did seem to be some variation in knobs, but the cabinet was the same. And if we look at this diagram, that sure as heck looks like this radio. Same tube lineup. It's got that little goofy thing down here. It's got the outside antenna clip. And when I looked at the antenna, I was surprised to see how the antenna clip actually works. I was wondering how this antenna clip can work when it's not connected to anything. Well, if we look at this diagram here, there's the external antenna, and it's going to what they call C1 and the antenna plate. So it looks like the external antenna jack is not supposed to be connected to the back or anything else. It's capacitively coupled to that metallic back, which then goes into the set. So without the external antenna, that metal back does actually serve as an antenna. Or if you attach an external antenna, that just gets added in to the circuit, and so on. So basic all-American 5, gets you the tube filaments are all wired in series, as I mentioned earlier. So if we add those up, 50, 35, 12, 12, 12, we get about 121 volts. And this set can run on AC or DC. It says 105 to 125. DC because there's no transformer, so you don't need to worry about a transformer working. The recapping is proceeding just fine. I've already replaced 3 caps over here and about to put a new one in up here. When I noticed this device, something I thought worth mentioning, if you take a look at the top of the chassis, you may notice there's something conspicuously missing. There's no tuning capacitor. Follow the drive cord here. What it's actually doing is it's moving the slug in and out of this coil. And it's something I noticed in the service info too. For the general description, this radio is a permeability tuned AC/DC set, blah blah blah. Well, that's what they mean by permeability tuned. It's a variable inductor. So this iron core slug is being slid in and out of this coil here. That's how it controls the local oscillator. I checked for continuity, and it does appear to be okay, but this end is loose. So I've got my glue gun heating up here. I'm going to put a glob on this end to secure it. Otherwise, I will just keep replacing more caps. I got 1 that I already cut out, and then 2, 3 more to go, and then the electrolytics, and I will test the tubes, and then I think I'll try powering this setup. I finished recapping except for the electrolytic, which is buried in there pretty deep. So what I want to do is test it first, because it might be okay, or if not, I might be able to reform it. So I pulled out my good old Solar CB160, and I've got it hooked across one of the 2 caps. And first I want to check for leakage. I'm going to turn the lights down so we can see that a little bit better. Okay, so when you check for leakage, you want to make sure you've got this on the electrolytic rather than the paper mica. And then you've got these 5 steps here, which correspond roughly to 1 to 500 volts, although it's a little bit less than that really. And you have this dial turned all the way over to the right. So I'll put it on step 1, and the idea is the bulb should light up and then go out fairly quickly. And if you turn it back, you should see it light up and discharge on the other plate. So one side of this neon bulb is the cap charging up, and the other is it discharging. If the light flashes, that means it's charging up and discharging. In other words, it's leaky. Or if the charging light always stays on, that means it just can't build up a charge because it's leaking out so fast. So we're good up to 100 volts, and these are supposed to be rated for 150. So if you look on the schematic here, we've got basically a half-wave rectifier on the AC line. So we're going to have something like 115 volts DC there. across those caps. And then there's a 1200 ohm resistor between the two caps serving as like a high filter. So there'll be more voltage on C16-B than C16-A. But according to the schematic, they're both rated for like 150, 160. So let's clip to 200 just to see what happens. And it looks like we're good on that too. Discharge it again. Here's one. Here's two. A little bit slower on two, but that's alright. It's definitely holding a charge. So I'd say this section is good. Let's try the other side. When you move the alligator clips, always make sure you're back on 0. If it's on one of these and you grab this clip, you may very well get shocked. And yes, I know there's a resistor connecting the two, so they are somewhat interacting, but it's not going to affect it too much. Alright, so this one looks good too. 1 and 2, and there it is going out. And we have to discharge, so charging up and discharging. Alright, I'm going to leave this sitting on 2 for a while and then do the same for the other side to kind of reform them a little bit more. Even though they're testing okay now, it doesn't hurt to apply a little more voltage for a while to form them up a bit more. I started testing the tubes, and right away I found that the 35Z5 rectifier tube is completely dead. No filament whatsoever. So it's time to find a replacement. Now I don't work on All-American 5 radios very often, so I haven't cherry-picked out tubes that they commonly use like the 35Z5. So I have to go hunting through my gigantic pile here of spare parts, which are mostly tubes. For example, here's one tube caddy, and I think I'm going to strike out on this one. So on to the next. Okay, maybe in this guy. Let's see, 35, 35. We'll be down here. Nope. I don't think so, not in this one. Alright, this caddy looks more promising at first blush. And 25W4. 50Y6. Oh man. No, not in this one either. Well, I'll keep digging. Gotta be one around here somewhere. Alright, this is my last tube caddy. If it's not in here, I have to go digging through that pile. Let's see. So I mostly work on TVs or radios that are from the 20s and 30s, not so much All-American 5. So, although I know I've seen plenty 35Z5s, just don't recall seeing any lately, and I don't know where I might have put them. Ah, so close. 35Z3. I'm not sure what the difference is between a Z3 and a Z5, but Z5. Oh, wait. Could it be? Ho-ho! 35Z5, and this might actually be new old stock. I'll bring it down to my tube tester and see if it's any good. Well, it certainly looks promising. RCA branded 35Z5, very clean looking. Let's pop it in the tester and see what we get. That's a good sign. The needle dropped down on the line test, which means it's drawing current. So we'll adjust the line adjust knob here to get it right on the center there. And oh yeah, it's glowing nicely. Check for shorts. Alright, no shorts. And as for value, a nice strong tube. Alright. Got 3 more to test. I hope they're strong as well. Otherwise, I'll be going back up into the attic. Okay, I put all the tubes back in. I've got a new line cord installed. And I reformed the cap for a while. And the only thing that bothers me about this so far is that on the schematic we've got a 12 SK7 here, but in this set it came with a 12 SJ7. Now I'm not 100% certain that this chassis is indeed a 1501B. So I'm just going to leave this tube in and going with the philosophy that the radio must have worked at some point, so I'll just leave it in there. Oh, something else I noticed that's kind of disappointing about this set is that not only is the cabinet cracked, but so is the dial glass. And somebody just jammed a screw in here to kind of supposedly hold this in place, but it's not doing a very good job. I guess this there must have been one of these on the other side. It's long gone. Once I get the radio to work, I'll try to put something a little bit more appropriate in there. Alright, so I have got this wired into a 60 watt bulb in series, and I'll plug that in. Oh, something else I was wrong about. I was saying that the chassis was hot. That's not actually true. The chassis is kind of floating, and the B- bus is just floating around on a wire. So this little symbol down here, that's the actual chassis. But this bus here, it's just a wire running throughout underneath the chassis. So this chassis is not actually connected to either side of the AC line, but still a very good idea to use an isolation transformer with a set like this. Alright, so let's give it a shot. There's no pilot light that I could see, so I guess we're just going to have to wait for the tubes to start glowing and listen for a crackle in the audio. Bulb lit up, dimming down, always a good sign. It means there's no dead short anywhere. Yeah, tubes are starting to light up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. Turn the volume up. Oh yeah, we have crackle. Try tuning it a little bit. Now there's no antenna really hooked up. Well, hey, there's something. WBBM, yeah, it's a strong local station.
And South Barrington. Don't forget our outlet store in Bloomingdale. Extreme activity, thoughts of suicide, other mental problems.
Put the lights back on, see if these are lining up with the dial indicator.
Talk to your doctor. Provide extra cleaning. Thunderstorm, the high about 85, but in the lakefront and in the 90s south of Chicago. 67 O'Hare, 67
That's 780. I guess that's, yeah, it's about right. Dial's kind of crude here. It goes from 70 to 90 and 780. Yeah, that's about right. 720.
It was a mess, a security risk, and my dog used to bury bones in the piles. We needed a game changer.
Now that tuning slug was damaged a bit, so I would expect this dial to be off a little bit. Let's see if I can. WIND AM 560 should be down at the lower end here. Yep, that's it, right down there. Again, no antenna. See if I touch my finger back here.
1528. Chicago's intelligent talk station, AM 560.
Well, this thing's really sensitive. I just stuck my finger on a little lug in the back that would normally connect to the back. So I am the antenna effectively right now. By the way, this is a really bad idea, if you don't know what you're doing, to touch one hand to one part of a radio and grab another part with another hand. Because imagine if there was 120 volts AC or some higher potential there, and I'm touching one side with one hand and one side with the other hand. Sends the current right through your body, right through your heart. Very bad idea. But this knob is insulated, and I'm just going to the antenna and put on the other side.
15 inches, and should those rains occur, you could get life-threatening flash floods and mudslides.
National hurricane. Against Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. NHL game.
Tiny petite little thing, and
Airstrike has been making landfall as a tropical
Sounds pretty good for a dinky little speaker.
384-9232. Park Ridge Community Bank is a member FDIC.
The LA King.
El mundo en el nuevo W. 30 and 11 at LaGrange Christian Assembly. 57.
Alright, cool. So I'm going to clean it up a bit and put it back in the cabinet. And a few final things I would really do if I was going to button this setup and like try to resell it is I should put a fuse in there. And I guess that's about it, really. Oh, and put a safety cap across the AC line. There's one cap in there that goes across the AC line, the C18. I don't have a .05 X-type safety cap, so I put in a .047 regular cap. That should really be a type X safety cap. X meaning it goes across the AC line. And then I would put a fuse in between here and the rest of the set. And if you really want to be safe, put a polarized plug in this and rewire it a bit so that the neutral side of the plug goes to B-, and that the hot side has the switch and the fuse in it before it gets to this point. I highly recommend you would do those if you were actually going to sell this to somebody as a restored set. Here's the radio all back together. I forgot to mention that in addition to the fuse and the safety cap, I would also replace the electrolytic caps if I was going to sell this as a fully restored radio. So once this warms up, we'll see how this works using the back as an antenna. Seems to work all right.
I hadn't expected what's quite $5,000.
Oh, Mr. Forbes.
Yes?
This gentleman would like to see you. I feel. Eric's right about this one. This is a really great movie.
You guys, from all indications, had a really nice relationship too, Coach.
Yeah, we had a really good relationship. We don't work. I should say.
I hope you guys enjoyed this look at restoring what I think is an Airline model 14BR-1501.
These characters through the whole thing, and I gotta say, this is one of the very best. Being a good defensive player and a good defensive team.
Business to pay off bills and take vacations, or a fun full-time